think Popstar is a very unusual project because of this transmission that's going on, and I think that it's crazily valuable. The only other project that I know that's anything like it but isn't the same, but nevertheless I know how important that project is a project in Georgia, where Georgia, as you probably know, has this immensely rich singing tradition with all sorts of different forms in different places. However, it's mainly sung by older people. And many years ago, a children's group was started, and this children's group went on field trips, learnt songs from the older people, and gradually came up. And these singers are now in their mid-20s. So those traditions are held by that group of, let's say, 20 young people who are now passing it on. And I can't imagine how important that is for that tradition in Georgia. And the Georgians, they know how important their singing tradition is. They know that they're very, very proud of it. It's a very, very unusual singing tradition. And in Italy, there are many, many unusual, special things. You have such an extraordinary architecture and art history that's, you know, unparalleled in the world, and that we all come to enjoy. And so I think something like Popstar is, or not something like that, Popstar is doing something unique, which is it's looking at this perhaps more hidden tradition of these songs, which also needs preserving and which also needs to be valued. They're just not visual, they're something else. And so for me to be involved in a project which is helping that tradition survive, even in a small way, it's just a beginning at the moment, is really valuable. And also seeing how the project is being accepted by the young people, how they were really happy singing those traditional songs yesterday. I thought maybe they wouldn't be interested in those, they just want to make their own. No, they were enjoying the traditional songs. And so I think that if that could be multiplied, if that project could be multiplied in many areas, there are often hill and mountain areas where the really old traditions stay because of the difficulty of moving. And so in these kind of hill villages, that would be so powerful. And I know from the Georgian experience that it brings a great respect for the older generation, and also knowing some of those young people in Georgia who've been through that long experience, they have a lot of skill. They've learnt a skill which is rare. Nobody else has that skill. So they have something which is valued. And they have also a social existence. So they, as a group, as a performing group, as a singing group, they have a collective experience. And they themselves are not the same age. So they, within their group, they're not all exactly the same age. So they're also cross-generational. And there are many studies about how cross-generational projects breed a better society. So, for example, I'm not the expert on this, but I've heard that there is a place in Britain called Lewes, which has an enormous bonfire tradition. It's a small town, and each part of the town has its own bonfire club. And these clubs are multi-generational because they're areas of the town. And on bonfire night, which is November the 5th, they all make these massive bonfires and huge figures, and they walk through the streets with burning fire, with children this age and old people dressed in traditional costumes. And this society is a very healthy society. And they tell me that something similar goes on in Siena, with the Palio, and that there's something about these intergenerational projects which means that there's less drugs. So I think that the potential of Popstar is enormous. I don't think that any of us have an idea about what the implications of losing singing are. That singing is becoming something that is done by other people, by famous people. The fact that we are not doing it as groups, as communities, we might sing at the odd wedding. And so I think that breathing together, harmonizing together, meeting together, laughing, getting it wrong, learning something new, learning a skill. We know that music as well is brilliant for Alzheimer's, that it's very, very good for the brain, it's healthy for the brain. There's a kind of, when you sing in a group, you have to, you are present, you are doing something, and at the same time you are listening to other people. And you cannot sing in a group if you don't listen. So it's also a collective training in terms of working with other people, that you are offering your own voice, you're being heard, and at the same time you are joining with other people. And that's a very, when else do we do that? When else do we have this experience? And so to be encouraging, to be allowing young people to have that experience as well, but not in a kind of strict school way, but in a more creative way where they can make it their own, they can change it. If they want to bring in their electric guitar, they can, however they want to go about the experience. I think that it can be very powerful.